What's up, guys? Skip Africanus here, and recently I picked up about 200 rounds of 32 ACP. I had the random feeling that, hey, I should run my 107, I think, year-old Spanish Ruby at a Tuesday Night Steel match just for kicks. I got about like 150 rounds for the actual match itself, which is going to be overkill, but 150 rounds for that, and then I got 50 rounds of practice with, and I do have to test these mags out, because I don't really recall how reliable they were. To my knowledge, they all work just fine, but I really don't shoot this gun that often, and I got it years ago. But anyways, with all that mentioned, then I thought, you know, I should do a video on this specific gun in general, because these are quite weird pistols. And by the way, of course, it's clear if I have my hand in front of it. Yeah, that's safe. But anyways, as mentioned, these are quite weird pistols. Now, a bunch of like early, you know, 1910s, whatever, 32 ACP pistols are going to share like the same amount of weirdness, if not be even more weird. But the Ruby is a real good one to take a look at because, again, there's just some features with this pistol that are just odd. Anyways, just kind of a basic rundown. Of course, as mentioned, this is a 32 ACP chambered pistol. Typically features 9 shots. I heard there was some that actually do have a variation in round count. I have only ever seen 9-shot pistols, but supposedly other ones exist. But the main one I'm going to assume is the 9-shot. That's all I've ever seen. And they, of course, work with direct blow or straight blowback. The barrel does not move, lock, or anything like that. Very simple pistol. And these are neat, like, when you look into, like, how in, like, you know, like, how they were made and all that. Because it wasn't just, like, you know, one, like, or a couple factories owned by the same people making this. When the French contracted the Spanish to start mass producing these for the First World War, as early as 1915, the amount of pistols they were getting contracted to make, it ended up just being dispersed through all these like various like small shops. And you would really wind up like, already the guns are basically all hand-fitted and down to the magazine they're hand-fitted. And you would just end up with, you know, just a wide variety of how these things look. Like if you look at some Spanish Rubies for sale online, you were definitely going to notice that they, like, compared between each other, just a wide variety of differences. Now, that being said, if you do own a Spanish Ruby and you want magazines, for the most part, they supposedly, you can get them all to work in the gun. Funny enough, when I actually bought this years ago, I asked the person I figured with the most expertise on it, Ian from Forgotten Weapons, and yeah, he himself mentioned that usually they're fairly interchangeable. But that being said, not 100% interchangeable. So if you notice on the side, well, let me kind of, there we go. I had to kind of look a little bit off camera. But anyways, if you notice on the side, if my camera wants to pick it up, I got a AA stamping with a circle on it. And the French actually started telling the Spanish to start, you know, marking especially the magazines with a factory mark, just because usually, though they're hand-fitted, if you have a magazine with it coming out of the same factory, they are going to be pretty interchangeable. But that being said, when it comes to all 4 of my magazines, I only have, man, those do not want to pick up. But on here, I only have one with the AA marking. The rest are just from various other factories. Now, these 2 managed to fit in the gun just fine, no issue. However, this one I did have to modify. You will see where I took an angle grinder to it. And the reason why you have to grind down here is because these pistols use a heel mag release as opposed to a button. One of the many weird things about this pistol. Also, fun fact, there will be no magazines that have an FN marking. When I purchased this pistol, I noticed that instantly, and I did a little bit of research on the handgun before I got it. So yeah, I got some money shaved off this price tag because it didn't come with a working magazine. Or at least supposedly anyways. Whatever this is for, I'm going to be honest, I cannot remember. I remember I looked into it and it was for, I think, some Colt pistol, or, yeah, I don't know what this is for, but it does look very close to a Ruby. To be honest, I've never tried it, but I got some money off that because I just assumed it didn't work. But anyways, that's a little bit off topic. Let's go into the pistol itself. So as you saw right there, that was one little weird thing with that heel magazine release. Now, there is plenty of pistols that do that, of course. Another thing weird with this handgun is the safety, which is right here. Now, this safety does also lock the slide back. However, it does not do that on an empty magazine. It is only a manual lockback, which is for disassembly. When you run out of ammo in this pistol, well, either keep it counter rounds or you're going to get a click. Which, by the way, again, it's kind of hard to nail down how all these pistols behave, but I can tell you for darn certain that this one has a very bad trigger. There's been times where I go to shoot it, and honestly, I would go to try to recock it because I thought, well, that trigger's not going. Anyways, looking a little bit further, one thing I want to point out is I always loved these sights on these. And a bunch of early 32 pistols, like in particular, they always have these really nice sights. I love the sights on these. Of course, this gun has kind of a weird shape, especially when you compare it to really any other pistol, and there is good reason for that. So let's take that safety and flip it up, and then pull the slide back. From there, we will rotate the barrel, pull a little bit, rotate down. That barrel comes right out. Then drop that little safety, slide the slide off. And inside, you will notice that, yes, these are actually hammer fired. That right there is an internal hammer. And a fairly crude looking one at that. Again, not really sure how well that's picking up on the camera, but it really looks like someone grabbed a piece and just took an angle grinder and then, you know, like a piece of flat steel and started grinding something and they made that. And then, of course, you have your recoil spring right there, but that really is all that's going on with this pistol. There's no barrel movement or anything. Those little things right there lock into those little things. And that's pretty much it. Straight blowback like you would expect a 32 ACP pistol to be. Now, reassembly is easy, of course. Just slide that slide on, which, by the way, if you do own one of these, one thing to be very mindful of is you do not try to reassemble this with a magazine in there. You will really screw up your follower. Anyways, got it right there. Back in action. And one last thing that I really want to bring up with this pistol, as well as a lot of the old, 32 ACP pistols, is just how bricky these are. This is a very weighty pistol. I mean, compared to something like my SIG P365, which I have to unload right now, but compared to something like this in 9mm, I mean, you just put the two together. Well, my camera's kind of at an angle, but you take a look at that. I mean, there's an obvious size difference, and I will tell you that this one is a little bit lighter. Actually, quite a lot bit lighter. Which, in my opinion, makes for a great shooting experience with this. I just call it the handheld firecracker because, you know, with that extreme weight and then, you know, the small 32 ACP cartridge, it really does not move. Which, speaking of that, you know, before I did this video, I just did a little bit of like a very simple research into the pistol to kind of refresh my mind on it. And now these pistols obviously get a lot of complaints when it comes to like reliability. And if I'm going to be honest, this one from memory, again, I do have to test these mags out, but from memory, it didn't run bad at all or anything. You know, ran great. But anyways, like I guess you get some that are a little bit crappier than others, and that's assuming that maybe they just have some mixed parts in there again, but I'm just going to assume that from the factory to like that. And one issue that was brought up was, I guess, certain parts will break. What I would assume is something to do with that little piece right there. Actually, let's take this apart real quick, because it kind of pertains to what I'm about to talk about. But I'm going to assume it had something to do with this piece right here. Now, if you look inside of the slide, you will see that little indent right there. And what this is it is basically, it keeps the hammer from dropping until the pistol is fully in battery. And supposedly there have been instances, quite a few from what I was reading, of certain parts breaking and you get what's called a runaway gun, meaning that the thing just empties out its magazine. Now the internet made it say, you know, they made the claim it's a very dangerous situation. I'm going to be honest, I really thought about it. And not that I would want my gun to do that because, well, you know, I don't feel like empty out my whole mag. But it goes with what I was talking about with no recoil. There really is no recoil to this thing. Like, you know, if I had an instance like, you know, where I'm shooting it and it just decides to like mag dump, like because something broke on here, I mean, it's not gonna do that. It's probably just gonna, I mean, because again, like this thing really is a super heavy brick. Again, there's a reason I call it a little firecracker in your hands, because, you know, it's just like a little firecracker. I mean, 32, you know, 32 is a big enough caliber where it's not like 22. Still kind of feels like you're shooting a gun, but again, I I don't know, obviously I wouldn't want that to happen because, well, I prefer this to be a good single-shot pistol. I would say accurate, but again, that trigger is pretty hefty. But yeah, I just felt like bringing up that little funny side note. Again, this one I actually really haven't had that many issues with it. From memory, though, I have had jams, of course, with this thing, but from memory, this one runs pretty well. Though you will hear people routinely complain about these. I guess, honestly, if you ended up buying one of these and you start having issues, you know, maybe check all the parts, make sure they're from the right factory. They're not really stamped that way. I don't know. As mentioned, I hear a lot of horror stories about these pistols, but me personally, this is a real nice pistol to shoot. But anyways, yeah, I figured let's go a little bit into the Ruby for a short little video. I hope you all enjoyed the video as much as I personally enjoyed making it, and I will see y'all next time.